Hello, this is Living History with Ted Goldsboro. We're back on the air with Dennis Dool and Ken Trotter, both retired teachers in Ardmore Junior High School in the Lower Merion School District. And we're talking about the history of Ardmore Junior High School. Ken, before you is a picture, and in 1947-48, what had happened to all those original faculty?
Well, some of them had gone away. I remember that Africa and Helveston taught at the high school when I was a high school student.
Yes.
Some of the others I don't recognize.
Okay.
Yeah.
But by...
Fowler was still on the Ardmore staff.
Okay.
When I joined.
So this is 20-some years later. It opened in 24.
And this picture was taken in 47.
Okay, so I think this is the 25th year maybe of Ardmore Junior High.
I came to Ardmore, I think, in 57 or 58.
Okay.
Not sure.
I wanted to mention that Fowler was known by many young men because he ran a boys' camp in Maine called Ranger Lodge.
Very popular camp.
For many years. And in fact, his son just passed away this past year. He was a Lower Merion grad. The woman, none of us recognized too much. Well, she taught home economics, and we think she was in charge of the cafeteria, the foods program.
I don't recognize her at all.
Mrs. Anderson was her name.
She might not have been there when I joined.
True. Yeah. Now, before Ed Snow was principal for, I don't know, from 1924 to 1956 or 7. But before he left, an artist whose name I have to look on the back was Maurice Molarski, painted a picture of Ed Snow, and I think the Home and School Association paid for that painting. So these are pictures of Ed Snow, which was a retirement gift to him. And we have this portrait over at the Lower Merion Historical Society.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to give credit to the Lower Merion Historical Society for allowing us to use all this stuff, and to the teachers at Ardmore Junior High School.
Now that you've mentioned Snow, you should give him some credit too.
Okay.
He really sort of was the school for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very forceful personality, and it was his circus.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was from Maine, and he was big, he was imposing.
Yeah.
Gruff kind of. And
scared the bejesus out of the kids.
He had a whistle, a silver whistle.
Yeah.
And when he blew that, the rule was you freeze.
Yeah, everybody freeze.
Everybody freeze.
No matter where you were like that.
Right? And he felt that he was at a disadvantage in being next door to the high school because the high school kids were coming over, especially a boy looking for his girlfriend, And that's why he didn't want you high school kids in here. You belong over there.
Yeah.
How did the school get along? How did the faculty and the kids get along?
With the high school, or?
Well, the diversity, because you had African Americans and you had Jews.
Absolutely no problem.
Okay.
No. Now, Ardmore and Lower Merion later was probably a great example of an integrated school. I couldn't see one iota of racism when I was in Ardmore at the time. Later on, when agitation started, there was some racist feelings. But when I started in the 50s, absolutely nothing like that.
Okay. I put in a 1953, which was when I was at Ardmore Junior High School, and I guess that made me pay attention to it. But this was a newsletter done on a mimeograph machine by Ed Snow, probably Mrs. Crooks and the secretary in the office. But on the old-time mimeograph paper, that blue paper, it was pretty tough to draw drawings like that. And I don't know who did it. Maybe an art teacher did it for him, but it's pretty impressive. And this newsletter would have been sent out to the faculty during the summer to tell what had happened during the summer, who's doing what.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice idea. It took quite a bit of work to do.
Yes, it did, obviously. Yeah, I've never seen these.
And Harry Donald's.
About every 5 years, the school district put out little booklets. They were called Lower Merion School District Directories, and they were given to staff, to teachers and to custodians, and they had pictures. I mean, it was really nice. To me, it was a nice quality job. The school board members, and they had their addresses and phone numbers, so that every teacher had this information. The custodians, the secretaries, and pictures. So it was really a nice product to think that they were doing this back in the 1920s.
It was nice, but apparently they didn't continue with that.
It quit after 1940 was the last one.
Because I never saw a booklet like this. Neither did you. Neither did you.
No. But it was nice. And when we're thinking about faculty members at Ardmore Junior High School, you open up this directory and it tells you who was there and where they got their degrees, what college, where they lived, what their phone number, what they were teaching, which is really nice. In that 1950,
Harvey Markley,
and Bill Gray's father is in there.
Yeah.
And
Bill Gray
Dubler
served in World War I.
And Henrietta Dubler, her father was
Ted Robinson
down at Pencoit Farm. We saw that.
Ernie Schwartz.
Yeah. Ernie Schwartz. Yeah. Now, I'm sorry, sorry, Ken.
Sorry.
Sorry. This is a picture again from my year in 53-54, but these were people who had taught for 25 years.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Westover, Westy.
Mechanical drawing.
Harmon. Dale taught French, right?
Yes.
Miss Tyson, I think, died.
Oh.
And I got her job.
Wow.
Yeah. She was the German teacher.
Oh, big.
And Ernie Schwartz.
So she died in service while she was teaching?
I think so. And Ernie Schwartz and I, we were both moonlighting, making money.
Oh.
And Ernie said, "Why don't you come over and ask for a job at Ardmore? You're a German teacher. Teacher just died."
Jeez.
I trotted over there, got a job.
Denny, let's tell about your experience. How did you get a job in Lower Merion?
Well, I got a job in 1972. I began in Lower Merion, and it was the middle of the year. I had a semester to go in college because I'd gone in the Air Force Reserves in 1971. And so I student taught in the fall semester, and so a job came open in March. And I applied. I think there were 10 applicants that day that interviewed with Harry Donald and Nate Schrager. Yeah. Nate was a pretty imposing guy, speaking of Dr. Snow. And I had 2 job interviews that day. One at Lower Merion with Harry Donald and Nate, and then one in Nether Providence. So I went to the Ardmore Junior High one, and it went great. I just loved the place from the moment I saw it. I went to Nether Providence later in the day, and it wasn't going so well. There was a panel of educators there interviewing me. I just talked to Harry and Nate like they were my uncles or something. And
Harry was good at that.
Oh, he was great. Yeah. And I made you feel great the first 5 minutes. And so about midway through the interview, I thought, boy, this is going very badly. And we were discussing things like Bloom's taxonomy and that sort of thing, which was not my cup of tea. And so they interrupted the interview. The secretary came in and said, "I have an urgent call for Mr. Dool." And the panel looked at me like, this is highly unusual.
You've lost the job
interview.
already.
Yeah. Well, I knew I wasn't getting this job anyway. So they said, all right, but don't be long. So I went out, and here it was the president of Westchester University where I went, and I had gotten to know him. I had been president of my class and got to know him through that. And he said, Lower Merion's been calling. They're trying to get a hold of you. This is way before cell phones, and they want to hire you.
And he's in the interview.
And I'm in the interview. So I thought, this is just great. So I went back into the interview.
What a great call.
And they looked at me like, let's proceed. And I said, excuse me, but I'm going to terminate this interview right now because I just accepted a job from Lower Merion. I picked up my briefcase and 3 mouths hanging open, like, how dare you.
That
But
was
it was
the
a
end
great
of it.
feeling.
That was great. That was great.
So that's how I started. And this was a Wednesday, and I started on a Friday.
Wow.
And it was just, I knew I loved Ardmore from the minute I got there, because the first day I was there was your Activity Fun Play.
Oh.
They were,
that's, yeah.
they were giving Hershey bars out, and Tom Fagan, the Irish assistant principal, was heaving Hershey bars into the audience, and the kids were jumping up and down. And I
going
thought, boy,
crazy.
what a great place to teach this is.
Oh, that's great. I have some pictures of some faculty from 1956. This was when Ed Snow retired.
Yeah, that's Mary Baum, math
Mary
teacher.
Baum, okay. I think at Crothhamel, was that his name?
Charles Crothamel, yeah.
Okay. And Miss Peg Doran,
Yeah, Peg.
she was Algebra 1 when I
Yeah.
had her. And Ann Castle. By the way, Peg Doran grew up in Gladwin, and her nephew still lives there in Gladwin.
These are both big favorites of my wife. Yeah.
Yeah, and mine too.
Ann,
Ann Castle was great.
Ann was a honey.
Ann Castle was amazing. I worked with her, and then she came over to Bala, Cynwyd. Well, Ardmore closed in '78. She stayed another 9 years
Yeah,
at
she
Bala,
stayed
Cynwyd.
around.
And
What did she coach?
she coached just about
A
everything.
lot of stuff,
But look,
yeah.
she coached hockey, lacrosse, fencing.
Fencing.
And as a matter of fact, my wife, Diana Ferrari, was her maiden name, went to Ardmore Junior High in Lower Merion in the '60s. And Ann was her fencing coach. And she said she just loved fencing. So
Who
Ann
would
was,
think that a junior high would have fencing?
I know.
Yeah.
So-
Oh, Ann was a, and all the boys loved Ann because she was a very personable young woman. They were crazy about her. Yeah.
We have to watch our time. We have a minute left here, but who is this? Fagan.
Yeah, that's
Tom
Tom
Fagan.
Tom
Tom
Fagan in
Fagan.
his younger days.
Did he
Yeah.
become an assistant principal? Or?
He was assistant principal when I was there.
Oh, okay, okay. Gentlemen, you're not going to believe this, but we've used up 24 minutes, and now we have to wrap it up, and we'll be back because we have this other big stack of materials to go through. This is Ted Goldsboro with Living History with Dennis Dool and Ken Trotter, and thank you very much for joining us, and we hope that you'll tune in for our next show on the history of Ardmore Junior High School.